exciting and every other emotion all at the same time. So, Sasrikal, Namaste, Salam Alaikum, hello and welcome to the most exciting educational extravaganza that Hyderabad has ever seen. Come on, everyone. Thank you so much. With that familiarity, Lieutenant Chairman Neeraj Varshney sir, Dr. Montage, Chairman Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor, and bring you all on the stage, sir.
Principals, teachers, and most importantly, the 1000 plus future leaders with us. Are we ready? Yes? You all already look tired. Yes? Lovely. So here it goes. Welcome to 14 years of spreading the message of peace, non-violence and dialogue. 14 years of youth empowering youth. 14 years of learning about the world from the Indian lens. 14 years of conferences in 220 cities and 35 countries. 14 years that saw 5 crore participants and 26,000 student organizers. 14 years which saw 32 heads of nations, Nobel laureate, Hollywood and Bollywood stars grace the stage. 14 years that has now seen once participants and organizers become politicians, businessmen, authors and lawyers. And 14 years which made the world take notice of an Indian organization that was changing the status quo. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for Johnson Grammar School presents I.I.M.U.N Hyderabad Conference 2025. My name is Disha and I am going to be your host and host up until you post us this evening. Before we begin with the official proceedings for this evening and as a mark of respect to our motherland, may I request all of you to rise at your seats for the national anthem. So, today we are here to celebrate an organization which up until now silently transformed the world, conceptualized and popularized the Indianized version of Model UN, sensitizing students world over to the Indian best practices and knowledge. Not many would know, in our city as well, I.I.M.U.N introduced the concept of M.U.N, then went one step ahead, removed the fallacies of UN passed resolutions like 1 week for the environment versus 1 day for the environment, which are actually becoming policies, and most importantly got students to implement actionable goals. From an academic discussion on global issues to now producing local leaders, it truly has become a movement to unite nations. And you know my favorite part? It's yet run by those 16 to 24 years of age. And because Indianness is at the center of the organization, it is only appropriate to start with the Diya lighting, and which will be accompanied by a sweet melody of Johnson Grammar Symphony. So for this, I call upon Lieutenant General Neeraj Varshney sir, Colonel Commandant of Corps of I.I.M.U.N, Mr. Abhishek Dhawan, Chief Mentor at I.I.M.U.N, Dr. B. Malika Arjun Rao, Chairman of Johnson Grammar School, Dr. B. Malti Rao, Director at Johnson Grammar School, Mr. Yashveer Malan, CEO of Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor, Ms. Mrignani Malan, CEO of Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor. Last but never the least, Ms. Shidi
ni da ni da pa ga ga pa 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 da ni pa. Sa sa ga ga pa pa da ni da pa ga ga pa da ni sa. Sa 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 ni ni da ni sa ga sa ni da pa ga ga pa 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 da ni pa. Sa sa ga ga pa pa da ni da pa ga ga pa da ni sa da ni sa da ni sa. मानवता का तू ही रूप है विश्व में, एकता का सही रूप दिखलाए। मानवता का तू ही रूप है विश्व में, एकता का सही रूप दिखलाए। भिन्न धर्मों का संगम मेरा भारत महान, भाईचारा मोहब्बत से भारत महान। माननीय वंदनम जननी कविवंदनम, पलुकुदाम धरणी जनुलंदरम। शान तेरी बढ़ाए मान तेरा बढ़े, लो हमारा सलाम पुण्य भूमि कर्म भूमि भारत माँ। ये मेरा इंडिया, ये प्यारा प्यारा इंडिया, सबसे न्यारा इंडिया, लो हम सबका प्रणाम। ये मेरा इंडिया, ये प्यारा प्यारा इंडिया, सबसे न्यारा इंडिया, लो हम सबका प्रणाम। ये मेरा इंडिया, ये प्यारा प्यारा इंडिया, सबसे न्यारा इंडिया, लो हम सबका प्रणाम। सा सा गा गा पा पा दा दा नि दा पा गा 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 पा पा दा दा नि नि सा नि दा पा गा पा दा नि सा नि दा सा सा गा पा दा नि सा नि दा सा सा गा पा दा नि सा नि दा। भारत है महान, भारत है महान।
Thank you.
Thank you, dear students, for the lovely melody. Considering it's India's international movement to unite nation, there has to be an Indian and international element involved. Whether it be from the mountains of Jammu and Kashmir to the shores of Maldives, or from the deserts of Rajasthan to the deltas of Bengal, I.I.M.U.N has embraced Indian cultural diversities before uniting the world the Indian way, presenting a beautiful composition of Kathak Sarang based on Til Tal and Rag Jog. The team of Guru Srimati Archana Mishra, founder and director of Non-Beat Dance Studio. The performers are Akansha Jaikul, Namita Yadav, Shravani Pulipaka, Ishwi Bhargavi and Devanshi Naidu. Can we please have a huge round of applause? about all of us at I.I.M.U.N. And for that matter, anyone who has participated even once. We all love the mic or start becoming fond of it. And as you can see it in my case, I absolutely love it. But rather than me yapping on, let's watch a beautiful video compilation about what the organization stands for.
सोचा कहाँ था ये जो हो गया आना कहाँ था ये लो हो गया इसकी कोई काटो ना है हम तो होश में सपनों को थामो ये है उड़ते जोश में बादल पे पाँव है या छूटा गाँव है अब तो भाई चल पड़ी अपनी ये नाव है अब तो भाई चल पड़ी अपनी ये नाव है बादल पे पाँव है या छूटा गाँव है अब तो भाई चल पड़ी अपनी ये नाव है
Chennai Conference, and she currently serves as a senior director in the substance department of the organization. Being an avid speaker and someone who loves reading books, she is pursuing law and aims to go places in life. Having represented I.I.M.U.N organization from Kanyakumari to the Kashmir and all the way from the hills of Kohima to the salt plains of Gujarat, amongst many, and calling I.I.M.U.N her home, she is now in her 5th year of being in the organization. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together for Ms. Srinidhi Srikant.
Am I audible to everyone? No? Is it better now? Can you increase it? Great, hi. This side, so no reaction only I am getting, yeah? Hi. Great. So guys, technically you all are supposed to be even more excited considering this is for you all and this is your conference. So let's try this again. Can you all give me a big enthusiastic hi? Hi! Great, that's more like it. Perfect. So, firstly, Disha, thank you so much for that introduction. Though no matter how much you try to butter me up, your work is not reducing for the next 2 days. But nevertheless, coming to this wonderful conference that we have today, on this particular day at I.I.M.U.N, we have a lot of conferences, and specifically in the month of January, we have big major conferences like that we see here today in Hyderabad. And I am so happy that as a leadership member, I was given the opportunity to choose where I wanted to travel. And I knew the minute that I got this opportunity, I had to come to Hyderabad. And it's not because I study here now, and neither is it because that I really want to go to the Charminar one final day. But it's more so because I want to interact with all of you guys here, and I wanted to experience the hospitality that I wanted to see in this lovely host school. And trust me, the amount of hospitality that I've gotten here is remarkable. So kudos to all of you guys. And to see all of you here from different schools, it's really enriching because we have students from over 20, 25 schools here. So it's going to be a wonderful experience for all of you guys. And since I'm 19 years old, I'll try my best to keep this speech very less boring. But as I was seeing the I.I.M.U.N video, the first thing that came to my mind was, over here, how many of you want to study abroad? Quick raise of hands. Okay, wow, that's like 3/4 of my audience here. And how many of you wish to pursue your career in India and probably settle here itself? Okay, that's comparatively less. Great. Can one of you volunteer and tell me why exactly you all want to study abroad and what is the course that you're looking at studying abroad? Anyone? You know, now the crowd is like, okay, yeah, show of hands was fine, but the minute you make us talk, that is not fine. Guys, you're all going to be talking for the remaining 2 days. You cannot not talk right now. Come on. Okay, I can see a lot of hands here. Can we get mics over there, please? Quickly. They are debating amongst themselves as to out of the 4 of you guys who wants to speak. Oh my God, guys. Yeah, go on. Okay, you want to do law and that's why you want to study abroad. Okay, perfect. So you think that there are better opportunities there?
There are better opportunities, so better universities in abroad, so which I'm going for it.
Okay, perfect. Great. So, thank you so much for that answer. So, just like you, I'm actually a law student. So, my own parents were thinking, and they were pretty forceful of the same situation where they're like, Srinidhi, you should actually go and do your law abroad because, your salary is also going to be better. You'll get better opportunities. And to start with, there is, safety of life also over there. And I was like, Ma, please don't go on about this. And that's exactly what I am trying to communicate over here. And how many of you have Instagram accounts? I want all of the hands up. Huh? I know for a fact all of you have Insta accounts here. And I know your teachers are also here, which is why you're not wishing to raise your hands. Great. Now I can see more hands going up. Perfect. And how many of you see reels on a regular basis where you get news and different information in these reels? Yeah? Great. Perfect. So that's the sad reality of our generation today. All our information and all the sources that we look for are basically social media, Instagram and our WhatsApp universities. And this is the exact same reason that India, a time where we used to live in a diverse nation with so much of unity, today in the same country we are so fragmented where we focus on different problems and fighting on those problems instead of actually living together. And this is the exact problem as to why our country is also not developing today. And I'll tell you why this exactly happens. So as you all know, in our country, we have majority of the youth population, right? And I can say that because so many of you here are yourselves young. And fun fact, amongst all the other countries like USA, UK, France, Japan, where a lot of you wish to go and pursue your studies. In all these countries, youth population is still relatively less. In most of these countries, the average age is above 35 years, and in fact, in the US, it's about 40 years, whereas in India, the average age is still about 29. But at the same time, you can notice that most of our parliamentarians of today are around the age of 54, and almost all our businessmen of today are around the age of 60. And I'm sure you all are wondering why, saying that, okay, we are the majority of the population, but at the same time, we can see that the entire leadership of the country and the economy is controlled by people who are above the age of 50. And I'll tell you why this happens. It's because people who used to lead essentially represent ideologies of our past leaders and past representatives. And the sad part is that they try to force their realities on our realities. So they refuse to believe that there can be different perspectives and there can be different truths. So they think that what they believe and what they think is right is the ultimate truth, and they try to fight proving that, okay, yeah, what I think is right. And this is the exact same situation that the entire country is battling with. Right? How many of you agree with me here? Great, that's quite a few of you. And this is the exact reason why a country that was once united is today battling a lot of diversity. And for those who thought that, India, or, who wanted to pursue your careers abroad, here's a fun fact. India is home to the oldest university in the entire world, which is Nalanda University. I don't know how many of you know this, but that's an interesting fact. And at the same time, India is home to over 1,000 festivals. And in a country where we respect each other's religion, today we fail to do the same. A country that is home to more than 16,000 languages, today we sit and argue about which language should be taught in school and which language should be made the mother tongue of India. And in a country where we used to have 3 million mosques, 3 million temples, alongside 2 lakh mosques, alongside a lot of monasteries and a lot of other churches that we used to see, today we fight each other in different court cases such as Babri Masjid and Ayodhya Temple. And in a country where, like I said, we are home to some of the best universities, not only Nalanda University, IITs, NITs, and we are known as the hub for the upcoming software world. But at the same time, a lot of you, majority of you in this room want to take the first flight abroad. And in a country where hospitality used to follow the concept of Aditi Devo Bhava, today we have a lot of intolerance towards our own. And here, in a country where we were the founders of the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the world is a family, today we have forgotten that there is unity that exists in diversity. So this comes to my point as to what our country essentially is. Our country is a socialist, secular, sovereign, democratic republic country, and this is what truly Bharat is. And I think it's high time that, people here start realizing that, because you are the future of our country. And the future does not lie with those who are sitting in the first 2 rows of our guests today, but all those who are sitting in the rows that goes beyond that. Because you're all young people and you have the power to actually make change. I am sure that, in the future, one of you are going to become the Prime Minister, one of you are going to become the Chief Minister of Telangana, and you're all going to own big software companies. And trust me, this is our time to make success. On this note, considering that the next 2 days are about committee sessions, how many of you have prepared for your committee session?
Guys, please take it.
Okay, guys, let's be honest. How many of you have actually prepared for your committee session? Okay, that's quite a lot. And how many of you are like me who prepares one day before? Because trust me, I've done that a lot. I usually prepare the day of the opening ceremony. Great. So I am really proud that this is 50-50. Perfect. And how many of you have been to such conferences before? Okay, that's also quite a lot of you. So then I'm pretty sure you can relate to me when I'm saying that we all have different delegates in these conferences, right? We have delegates who keep speaking in the committee, but at the same time, we also have delegates who are completely silent in the committee. And this comes to my next point of what I was trying to communicate. So as you all know, you're all the future of India, right? Now, there's one important thing that we all must realize. When we look at something, it's important to look at both the positive and the negative aspect. There are so many things in this world that I don't like, so many philosophies that I don't like, so many philosophies that you all don't agree with as well. But it's important to take away things from both the good and the bad. And that comes to my M.U.N reference of earlier. How many of you have come across this arrogant delegate of USA or, arrogant delegate of any P5 country for that matter who thinks they know everything in the committee? Okay, now I can see a lot of hands. And how many of you did not give one speech in your first M.U.N?
Guys, please.
Great, that's a lot of you as well. And trust me, I'm sure all of you can relate, and this is what your next 2 days are going to be about. You're going to learn so much from the people who are going to dominate your committee, like your delegates of USA, like your Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and your Rahul Gandhis in your committee. And at the same time, you're going to learn from people like me, who in the first M.U.N did not give one speech at all. There's so much to take away from everyone. There's both positives and negatives. And this is the unique blend that actually makes our country whole. Because I am sure all of you complain about how Mumbai is known for its traffic, me included. But at the same time, in this entire country, my favorite city is Bombay, because Bombay is, at the end of the day, city of dreams for so many people here. And I'm from Chennai, so I have to say this. Chennai is known for its water scarcity, but at the same time, the way people are over there and the helping nature of people is something that I've not seen anywhere else. And Hyderabad included. Have you guys been to the old city and have you guys been to Gachibowli? You can realize the stark difference, because when I first went to Gachibowli, I was like, is this even part of India? Because it was so fancy. And at the same time, when you go to, let's say, old city, where you see everything is so congested, Charminar, or any of your tourist attractions, it's completely different. And this is what makes India what actually our country is. It is this unique blend. So guys, it is all up to you as to how you make use of these 2 days, because you have an amazing platform in front of you. And of course, you're all supposed to have amazing fun, because you're going to make a lot of new friends. You're going to meet so many new people. But at the same time, please have an open mind and learn from everything that you guys come across. And one last thing before I bore you all and you're just like, okay, when will she end this thing? So one last thing that I would like to conclude with is, please ensure that all of you read your facts, check what you're trying to say, and please read about our country, because our country is known for a lot of things that you all are not aware of, a lot of things that even I was not aware of 5 years back. So please make use of the very fact that you guys live in such a wonderful country where we have a plethora of opportunities to offer. So yeah, on that note, all the best for your next 2 days. I'm sure you're going to have so much of fun debating. Please do not, please do not get bored, and please ensure that you guys have a very fun time. And please listen to your presiding officers before they come crying, saying that, okay, the delegates in my committee are not listening. So that being said, thank you so much to everyone who is present here. And welcome to I.I.M.U.N Hyderabad 2025. It's a very exciting conference, guys. It's the first time we are hosting here after COVID. And this is the first of many more conferences to go. So I look forward to seeing all of you guys in our future conferences. And thank you so much to our lovely guests present here today. Abhishek sir, for coming, because I know you're traveling after a very long time, so it's truly special that you're here with us today. And of course, my lovely host school and my dear principals here, without whose support this conference is not possible. Thank you so much, everyone, and I'll see you all in the closing ceremony. Bye. Guys, be a little bit loud. I'm literally ending my speech. Isme to you should be more excited. Thank you.
Now that is what we called a power-packed speech. It was truly inspiring. Thank you so much, Srinidhi. Never felt prouder to be an Indian. From now on, my introduction is definitely changing, and it will be. I am proud to say that my name is Disha, and I am an Indian. India is my identity. Thank you for what you do, ma'am, and what they said is summed up in this quote. Leaders don't make followers. Leaders create other leaders. We are very lucky to have leaders such as you. Thank you so much once again. A bigger round of applause for our senior director at I.I.M.U.N, everyone. Even today, if there are one set of people who we all can look up to and say we are all safe, it has to be none other than the Defense Force. It is a great privilege to be graced by Lieutenant General Neeraj Varshney, sir. He has conferred with the Honorable Vishishta Seva Medal, and he currently serves as the Commandant and Head of Military College of Electronics and Mechanical Engineering, MCEME, at Secunderabad, and Colonial Commandant of Corps and EME currently. Lieutenant General Sir was commissioned into Indian Army in 1986. He is alumnus of National Defence Academy, that is NDA, and the Defence Service Staff College. With a career spanning of 30 plus years, Lieutenant General Varshney Sir has held various regimental staff and instructional appointments. He has commanded a unit during the Kargil War, led maintenance and equipment sustenance operation for frontline formation, and served as the CEO and group head for all army-based workshops in the country. Apart from serving the nation, Sir has an inspiring credentials with 5 masters in the field such as technology, finance, strategic management, defense studies, and social science. He has also been actively involved in space and technical intelligence at the Integrated Defense Staff and has worked closely with ISRO and other intelligence agencies. And just when we thought the list has exhausted, we realized after his professional life, Sir is a voracious reader, an avid writer, a golfer, an enthusiast in field of astrology, and whatnot. It's an absolute honor to have you, Sir, here with us. Your journey reflects your dedication to excellence and unwavering service to the nation. With great pride, I would now like to invite on stage, with a huge round of applause, Lieutenant General Neeraj Varshney, sir. Everyone, come on, a huge round of applause.
Doing well, Calcutta.
Can you hear me at the back? Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the youth of this country. Before I start, I would like to ask you, are you comfortable in listening in English or you want to hear me in Hindi? Okay, so I'll continue with English. Raise your hands, how many for English? Okay, so the majority is for English, so I'll speak in English. Okay, I'll make a mix. Somebody said Hindi. It gives me a great sense of pleasure today to stand in front of all of you. And I'm thankful to Mr. Mallikarjun Rao, Mr. Rishabh Shah of I.I.M.U.N, Mr. Abhishek, and the organizers of this event who've called me here to talk to you on something which will be useful to you in your future. Disha talked about, and she asked you, are you nervous? Are you excited? I don't know about you, but I sure as hell am nervous. And why am I nervous today? With 38 years plus of service and handling every assignment in the government, I'm still nervous today, largely because of one reason, and that is, can we go to the presentation? Yeah, next please. Because I'm nervous because of this. Because you are the Alpha generation and the Z generation, which is sitting here listening to a millennial or a baby boomer. And I had to really think that what is it that I'm going to talk to you to make it more interesting and relevant for your future years. So this Z generation, the characteristics are there for you to see. You know about Tesla, you talk about Yas Queen, You played with Beyblades. You call slang as bro, what's up, and effing good. And what has happened to the alpha generation? Let's look. The alphas are playing with fidget spinners. You are going to ride in autonomous cars and not Teslas. You talk in what, WTF? You talk of IDRCs. And you are digital nomads which talk like hundos. So this is what the challenge in front of me, that I have to make you listen and understand what this country is all about, what the future of this nation is all about, and what is it that it is going to help you no matter which situation, which country, or which part of the world you are in. There's a very famous philosopher, Cicero, and I recollect, he said that the tragedy of life is that we get old too early and wise too late. I have become old too early and actually have become wise too late. I wish I was sitting there some 30, 40 years ago where you are sitting, and somebody had given me these pearls of wisdom which I'm going to dispense. The choice is completely yours. You want to take some of them, or you want to just put them in the trash bin here only. But I'm sure by the time you go from here, if you carry one concept with you, you will be so much the better for your lives. The first and foremost concept, which is ad nauseum repeated in every culture, is that the truth is a lion. You cannot shackle the truth. So your entire edifice of your personality and your lives should be based on the foundation of truth. Now, if you see our Vedas, they were a repository of knowledge 4,000 years ago. Anybody who knows from where is this quote taken? There is a prize for it. Yeah, I see someone in the orange kurta over there. Can we have the mic, please? Somebody raise the hand over there. You want to answer? Stand up and answer.
Sir, this line is from the Rig Veda.
Okay. So, what does it mean? Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. The truth is only one. The wise people can have different interpretations and versions of it. You don't have to couch truth with anything. It speaks boldly. The next one is Satyam vad dharma char swadhyayan ma pramadaha. Again, it says, speak the truth, follow dharma, and don't be lazy about your studies. It is again taken from Taittiriya Upanishad. And the last one is Satyamev Jayate, which is taken from Mundak Upanishad, and it says, the truth always triumphs. So if you see, whether it is Greek literature, whether it is Indian literature, you will find the concept of truth, which is extremely important. And for a good leader or a good person, the foundation of truth should be the basis of your building of character. Now I'm going to ask you another quiz. I have some prizes for you if you answer them correctly. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. Who said this? Anybody knows? Yeah, I see a hand over there. Yeah, that boy in the white kurta and sleeves who's raised his hand. He's younger to you in age, that's why I'm giving an opportunity. Just say. No, please sit down. Yeah, the gentleman. Oh, wonderful. Next slide. Yeah. So when you look at knowledge, knowledge is all about what Bacon said. And he said, read not to contradict and confute, not to believe and take for granted, but to weigh and consider. So the purpose of knowledge, what you are going to get in school, is not to solve a 4-year transformation in life. You're never going to solve a binomial equation in life. But what you will do constantly is analyze, weigh, and consider facts. And that is the purpose of education and knowledge. The knowledge gives you the wisdom to do right or do wrong. And why is it so important? It is important that with this education, you should be wise enough to know what is the right thing to do in life and what is the wrong thing to do in life. And when you look at it, generally in life you will find that hard decisions lead to an easy life and easy decisions lead to a difficult life. And that is what you have to discern and understand, that you should have the wisdom to always take the difficult right versus the easier wrong. If there is a path, normal path, the right path will always be a longer path. And that is why you hear there is a shortcut to it. Some friend will suggest, take a shortcut. Shortcuts will cut your life short. Take always the difficult right, because that is the right thing to do. And that is what your knowledge, education will teach you to do. Now look at this. This is what your generation constantly does, and this is what you were discussing. That what is easy for you is to sit on social media, to sit on Snapchat, Instagram, and just keep watching reels. Be lazy. Don't do anything. Where will it lead you? It will lead you to therapy. It will lead you to some addictions. It will lead you to stress. It will lead you to anxiety. It will lead you to lesser esteem about yourself. And if you take the difficult path, that is to study, read, exercise, and no fap. I'm sure half of you must be Googling what is no fap right now. And the other half must be smiling that this guy is using this word. But if you do that, it is going to lead you to a better life in future, in the long run. Now let's look at a teenager brain actually. This is very important to understand. And that is where sometimes we as elders lose perspective on what is going on in your heads. A teenager brain is actually a mix of biology and chemistry. There is a huge hormonal cocktail which is getting generated in that brain of yours. And that plays havoc with every kind of decision which you take, because your priorities in life are different. Your parents want you to sleep early, but they don't realize that in your bodies, melatonin is released 2 hours later. You will always sleep later than your elders. And you will always continue sleeping in the day later. This is natural. But a lot of people don't understand. Your brain is, the prefrontal lobes of the brain are not yet developed. They're still growing. And what does that imply? The prefrontal lobe gives you the capability to discern, the capability to do critical thinking and understand things. But you are at this stage, you want to be an adult, but you're not fully formed as an adult because your brain is still developing. And in your brain, dopamine is the easiest molecule which gets generated, and dopamine makes you an addict. If you do the right thing, you get a pat on your back, you'll become addicted to that. And if you don't get a pat on your back, you get a dopamine fix or a dope fix through drugs, through smoking, through all the other activities, you'll get addicted to them very easily. And that is what the teachers, educators, parents have to understand. That what is going in the head of a teenager is very different from what is going into the head of an adult. Look at this. You want to stand out. So what you'll do, you'll go and pee on an electric fence. But when you pee on an electric fence, this is what happens. So write a note to yourself that don't pee on an electric fence. You should not try stunts where you know you will die. And in life, you will get a number of people who will teach you how to succeed. But what you should know is how to fail. And if you understand that, what you have to do is, first concept you should know is inversion. How many of you have solved that equation that root 2 is an irrational number? Oh, great. Everybody has solved it. How do you start solving it? Now I'll go to the ladies sitting here, the young ladies sitting in this enclosure. How do you solve? Root 2 is a rational number, irrational number. What do you start with? Yeah. Wonderful. So this lady who's standing here, the young lady in the front row standing, she said, you start with an assumption that root 2 is a rational number. And then you prove by inverting it that it doesn't meet these qualifications and parameters. Therefore, it is not a rational number, but an irrational number. Same thing applies to your life. You must learn to invert. And this concept of inversion was given by a famous mathematician called Carl Jacobi. He said, addition is very easy in life. Subtraction takes intelligence to know what to subtract and from where to subtract. So you should know what things to avoid in life. Next, please. So invert and change your perspective of seeing things. Next. So first thing is avoid stupidity. Don't try to be super intelligent. First avoid stupidity in life. Intelligence will come later. Know how you can fail, avoid those things. And what can fail you in this age? Don't do drugs. Don't do unprotected sex. Don't do cheating. Respect your elders. 3-4 things, that's all. You avoid these and your life is made. Don't do drugs. Don't do any addiction. Don't do anything wrong. If you avoid all of that, chances are you may not become extraordinarily brilliant, but you will become a good citizen of this country. Next. So 10 things to subtract from your life which you should have. You have to make your own list. I'm just putting an example over here. Take out social media from your life, you'll have so much of time available to you, actually. Take out gossip from your life, you'll have so much of time available to yourself. Look at what you want to avoid and what you want to kill. Next. Learn from nature. Now, nature is a great teacher, but very few of us learn from nature. The first thing nature teaches you that there is nothing called instant gratification. Nature is very slow. A tree will take 10 years to grow. A fruit-bearing tree will only give you, after 12 to 15 years, tons and tons of fruit. But if you expect that tree to start giving you fruit from the next day, it cannot give. The second thing you have to learn from nature is that every great discovery and invention has come out of nature. Newton discovered the laws of gravity by sitting under a tree. Archimedes was in water when he discovered flotation. The aircraft was made by watching a bird. The submarine was made by watching a whale. So, if you want to do something big, develop your observational powers, which are superpowers. Now, let me check your observational power in this slide. What can you trace? What owl? Yeah, somebody said an owl, okay. Yeah. What else? Squirrel. I don't have a pointer. I would point in the first slide, first corner, where you see the bamboo vine. There is a snake. Yeah, very good. The second one, I'm going clockwise. There is an owl. In the next one, where you see down below, there are monkeys. Let's go back. And in the last one, somewhere here, I'll show you, there's a leopard. There's a leopard. So the lesson here is, nature teaches you to blend. Nature teaches you to conform. Species which don't listen to nature, they don't survive. You have to survive in this world for the next 70, 80, 90 years. Because by the time you get old, human life would have crossed 100 years. Science and technology will take you there. So survival happens if you blend in with your surroundings and you look at things in natural perspective. Now, having told you something, I want to tell you what you have. What are your sources of advantage? So the sources of advantage with you are Saraswati, Lakshmi and Shakti. The first and foremost is knowledge. Seek knowledge. Talent, skill, that's a source of advantage with some of you. With some others, wealth is a source of advantage. And with the third category, your physical energy or your health or your muscle power is a source of advantage. When you look at a sports star, when you look at a film star, when you look at a scientist, when you look at a military leader, when you look at a writer, an educator, an author, you will find one form of these source of advantage which he is leveraged on or she has leveraged on. This nature has given you, hone these three sources of advantage. The next source of advantage is networking. You can be a great networker and it's a source of advantage, but it also requires time. The choice is yours. You want to hone your talent or you want to hone your network? The next is experiences and memories. If you have very good experiences and memories, you are going to be that much better a person. How many of you have seen this movie, Sully? I've just paused 10 seconds for Mr. Tharoor. So how many of you have watched this movie, Sully? He's a pilot who landed his aircraft full of 115 passengers on the Hudson River. So what was Sully all about? He was about self-discipline. And that is another component which you have a source of advantage. Those of you who have discipline will outsmart the others in the long run. And Sully had exactly 280 seconds to save those lives and take a decision. And how he took that decision was based on everyday drills and practice and the discipline which he had been doing for the last 40 years of his flying. So each one of you has to have that self-discipline to move further. And the last one is role of luck. Human beings, in general, undermine the role of luck, destiny, chance in their lives. But it has a very important role apart from all the other sources of advantage. Leverage one of these sources of advantage for you to move ahead in life. Now I'll talk to you about this generation has a lot of FOMO, a lot of peer pressure, and it is always about your self-esteem and your locus of control. You have to decide what is your locus of control going to be, whether it is going to be external or internal. An external locus of control means that you are affected by what others think of you. And if you have an internal locus of control, it means that what you think of yourself is pretty high. So you don't worry about trolls, you don't worry about nasty comments put by others on social media, on your Insta accounts, and anything else. And why is it important? Is for the simple reason that the generation of yours has esteem issues, and those esteem issues should be fulfilled out of the sources of advantage which I told you earlier, and not from any other extraneous means. Now I'll talk about that young lady talked about. I have 2 more slides which I'm going to talk about. Is when you look at elephants, an elephant can't become a rabbit overnight. So some of you children are like elephants. You move slowly, you learn slowly. And some of you are rabbits. You learn instantly, very quickly, move very fast. But if I, as a parent, try to make a rabbit into an elephant or an elephant into a rabbit, then I'm making a huge mistake. Same way, you can't make a bird swim and you can't make a fish fly. So each child is different, each one of you is different. You have some positive characteristic, identify that characteristic and run with it. You will be so much better off in future and in your lives. Constantly in your lives, from these days till the end of your life, you will be juggling a few balls constantly. And the 2 biggest orbits which you will have in your life are your work and your family. In between will come your friends who want to go to a pub. There is a requirement of traveling. There is something which has happened in the family. You'll develop some health issue. So constantly your priorities will change and you have to juggle with these. So life is not about solving a binomial equation every day, but it is about solving problems. And your education in your school, whether it is Johnson Grammar School or any other school, is only about teaching you problem solving. A leader is nothing but a problem solver. The people, his troops, for a military leader, the troops repose faith in us. And we solve those problems, whether it is on battlefield or in a peacetime location. If you see a political leader, he's doing nothing but solving people's problems. If you learn this art very early in life, you'll be so much the better in future lives. Can we play the video, please?
Life's not fair. You see, I shall never be king. You shall never see the light of another day. And you.
Did your mother ever tell you not to play with your food?
What do you want?
I'm here to announce that King Mufasa's on his way. So you better have a good excuse for missing the ceremony this morning.
Now, Zazu, you made me lose my lunch.
Ha! You'll lose more than that when the king gets through with you. He's as mad as a hippo with a hernia.
I quiver with fear.
Now, Scar, don't look at me that way. Help!
Scar. Drop him.
Impeccable timing, Your Majesty.
Why, if it isn't my big brother descending from on high to mingle with the commons?
Sarabi and I didn't see you at the presentation of Simba.
That was today.
Which movie is it from? Wonderful. So, Lion King. Okay, who was the character? First line? Oh, wonderful. So, I can't give a prize to each one of you, but he was Scar. And what was his first dialogue? Yay! Wonderful. So the lesson here from this clip is this, that no matter what you do in your lives, life is not fair. Scar says, I should have been the king, not Mufasa. But end of the day, Mufasa became the king. Probably he was a better leader. So life will not be fair no matter what you do, no matter which sphere you excel in. There will always be a better writer, a better actor, a better director, a better judge, a better army officer, a better scientist. You may have done all the research, but somebody else may get the Dr. Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize or the Nobel Prize. Learn to take it with a pinch of salt and carry on with your life and keep doing your work sincerely, which you have been doing. Now, what is there in these photographs? Who are these people? Okay, somebody said freedom fighters. Anybody else wants to take a guess? Okay, Mahatma Gandhi. Who's the second gentleman? Very good. Who's the third gentleman? Yeah, and who's the fourth one? Okay, I'll tell you, you've identified correctly. So we have the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. We have the father of Indian nuclear program, Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha. We have the first Field Marshal of India, Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, and we have the first Paramveer Chakra winner of independent India, Major Somnath Sharma. Now, what is common between all of these people is they were all leaders in their own domains, in their own fields. So leadership is not confined to just military leadership. Leadership is about coming to the forefront, solving problems of others, having empathy, determination, drive, and courage to follow a certain path. The leader follows this motto of Bahujan Hitay, Bahujan Sukhay, and it has been taken from a Buddhist canon, Vinay Pitaka. A leader looks at the larger good of the largest segment of population. A leader doesn't look at 10% of the people who will be naysayers in any organization. A leader looks at the welfare of the 80 to 90% of the people. If he can meet their expectations, if he can meet their aspirations, if he can do justice to them, then leadership is only about that. In your schools, you have the head girls and head boys and prefects. What are they? They are leaders. Your headmaster, your principal, they are leaders. The chairman of I.I.M.U.N is a leader. So it is not confined. Mr. Tharoor is a leader. He's a political leader. Later on became a political leader from his foreign service. So leadership is not confined to a particular domain or a particular sphere. Leadership can be exercised in everyday lives, and for leadership, what you need is good role models. There's a book by Herbert Simon, Models of My Life. You become what you see. We generally learn by observation. Nobody teaches a child. A child looks at his elders and learns the language, learns how to walk, learns how to behave. So if the society produces good leaders, you will get good citizens. And if we get good citizens, we have a good country. And if we have a good country, you are respected all over the world, you are cherished all over the world, you are revered all over the world. That's all I had to say. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Sir's speech, if I'll go full Gen Z, then I should, OMG, it was such a it speech, sir. But on a serious note, thank you so much for your inspiring words and thought-provoking words. Thank you for giving us the lessons of leadership. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Srinidhi Srikant, Senior Director at I.I.M.U.N, and Chairman Dr. B. Mallika Arjun, who has served in the field of education for over 35 years and has traveled across the globe to understand education system. With many degrees, he has also completed his PhD in education. Along with them, I call upon Dr. Malti Mallika Arjun, ma'am, of Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor, who does not just play the role of an academician, but since her student years, has encouraged co-curricular activities, which definitely reflects in the students of Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor. a bigger round of applause for Lieutenant General I'm so sorry. For Lieutenant General, sir. Come on, guys. We are youth of the nation. And we are sleeping. It's not parliament. Come on. Lovely. Now we shall begin with one of the most awaited segment of this event. And for this, I would like to call upon someone who is known for a fierce journalism on issues ranging from women's rights to politics. And her work has been recognized by various institutions by receiving prestigious awards like International Press Institute from APJ Abdul Kalam Sir, Chameli Devi Jain Award, Ramnath Goenka Award, and many more. She serves as an executive editor in New Delhi Television South Region and oversees news operation for TV and digital platform. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your huge round of applause for Miss Sudhira.
Very good evening to all of you. Four-time Member of Parliament representing Thiruvananthapuram. That's incidentally where I was born too. Oh, wow. A politician, diplomat, and author par excellence. He's the chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs, former Union Minister of State for Human Resource Development, former Union Minister of State for External Affairs during his nearly 3-decade-long career at the United Nations. Apart from various prominent postings, he served as Under Secretary General. So we are delighted to have his association with the organization that goes beyond a decade. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to ask you to join me to give him a standing ovation to this chairman of the I.I.M.U.N's Advisory Board, Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
I haven't earned it yet, so do sit, but thanks so much. Thanks very much.
You know, so many youngsters here from multiple schools across Hyderabad, and all of them are looking for career options. When we say tech, they say Satya Nadella is there, Sundar Pichai is there, and if you have sport, we say Saina is here, and Gukesh, of course. Politicians, Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
That's very generous.
That's an inspiring thing, and I don't know if that list can go much longer, if you'd like to add to that list of people who can inspire, but many of them, I'm sure, are looking for career options. What would you say it takes to become a politician, and would you actually recommend it to all these youngsters sitting here? I know it's a very tough career, actually. He came as a lateral entry, actually.
It is a very tough career, and there are many different paths to it. The conventional way is getting involved from the young age of being a student in college, becoming a student leader, getting into the youth movements of these political parties, and then rising with them, taking on new challenges, getting into electoral office and climbing. There's a short route, which is just be the son or daughter of a politician, and they usually get you in there too. But then there are some odd characters like me who weren't either. I had no politicians up my family tree, and I had a totally different career. As you mentioned, I spent 29 years at the United Nations. The other thing that I did whenever I could was to write. And so
we are seeing those books here, yep. 26 of them now.
26 of them now. But I never thought that I would be offered the opportunity to get into politics because I didn't have the pedigree, the family connection. And so I was interested in politics. I wrote about politics. I thought I understood, at least from the outside, some of the challenges of politics. But it was still a very pleasant surprise to be invited to contest an election. And I was foolish enough to say yes, because I had never actually even voted in an election at that time. See, I left India to go to graduate school in the States when I was just 19. And in those days, the voting age was 21. So I'd never even seen an election up close. I'd never voted in an election. I had no idea what I was getting into. So when they asked me, after I'd come back to life in India after such a long time abroad, and having seen Indian politics only from the outside, I was dumb enough to say yes. And the result was that I walked into something that was probably far more challenging than some of the minefields I had plowed through during the civil war in the former Yugoslavia and so on. It really was quite an experience. So I would say to you all, go into politics only if you are truly passionate about either the issues that guide the governance of our country, or you really feel a sense of affinity with your people and they want you to represent them, and you feel you can represent their needs and their hopes better than others. There are people who do go into politics for the wrong reasons, some who go in merely because it's a family profession, some who go in because they think it's a way of making money on the side, which is not supposed to be what they're doing, but some do. We have to be honest about it. And there are people who often think that power is an attraction in itself, and if they support the right party, they might get political office, that sort of thing. Those are all the wrong motives. I mean, honestly, in a democracy, politics is the best way you can bring about change for the better. And if you don't care about doing that, if you don't have a vision of a better society that you want to work towards and bring your country to, then you really shouldn't be in politics. And that's my plea to all of you. Just as I am often invited to address college convocations, and I find myself doing a lot of medical college convocations, and I say to them, you know, you've chosen a profession that is a cause. It's not just a profession. If you're there because you think you can make more money, if you want to specialize in the diseases of the rich, then you're in the wrong profession. Because a profession like medicine has to be about wanting to save lives, wanting to serve society. And really, doctors do have to give up a lot.
Yeah.
And so do politicians if they do their work sincerely. It's a 24/7 job. You can never switch off from your responsibility of representing the people who've asked you to represent them, who voted for you to represent them. And therefore, it becomes something which often, you know, when you hear from about a decent political leader that he hasn't had a holiday in years, that doesn't surprise me at all. I haven't had a holiday in years, and I'm not terribly important in the political world. It's just the way these things happen. You're always switched on. Yes, you sometimes have to put the phone on silent, as I just did when you were introducing me, but I'll turn it on again when I finish and see how many missed calls I've got that relate to my constituency and not just to friends or family. And that's, again, part of the responsibility that comes from elected office.
Okay, I'm a TV reporter, and the Forbes magazine and several other magazines rate TV reporter among the worst professions in the world, more than 120 professions if you were to list TV reporter. And I can vouch for it that politicians' life and work, especially in India, I think is perhaps worse than that if you were to do it the right way.
That's right.
In many ways. But I was in Thiruvananthapuram on the day of elections, and I met Dr. Tharoor there as well. And I remember people coming in from the Gulf and elsewhere to vote. And there was this young man who had come in from Delhi to vote. And then he keeps sending me these little messages, texts. You asked me why I came from Delhi to vote. This is why. And he sends me Dr. Tharoor meeting the family of the youngster who, Ernst & Young, she died in unfortunate circumstances. He says, this is why How do you engage the youth if you are telling them that this is a very tough thing? Do we need to incentivize politics? Because obviously we need leaders who are inspiring and who are capable of changing tomorrow. So for all these youngsters, when we say it's the worst profession, you're scaring them away even more.
No, I don't mean to scare you away. I just mean for you to come into it only because you want to. Not because you think it's easy, not because you think it's improperly, but nonetheless generously rewarded. Not to think because power is a lot of fun. No, if you come in because you want to do certain kinds of things, the kinds of things that we've been talking about here, then come into politics. Don't do it otherwise. So when I'm saying that, it's because it is really tough work. You are on call all the time. There are lots of demands. Not everything you do is always satisfying. I can tell you that because as an MP, I get a lot of requests from people that are about their personal convenience or their personal fortunes, or their personal interests, and are not necessarily about the development of the constituency or the challenges of the public or the needs of the nation. Those are things that you want to do because that's where you feel you can make a mark, make a contribution, and those are things you might be more interested in, but you also have to do a lot of what the Americans would call the grunge work to be able to continue to earn the right to represent people. And then you really got to care. I mean, some issues capture your attention. I must say that for me, there was a huge, huge realization that because of the visibility you get through politics, you can genuinely make a difference in people's lives. I remember a poor girl rushing to do her examinations, tried to cross a railway track, got hit, lost both her legs. A very poor family. To be able to get her artificial legs and see her back again on her, not her feet anymore, but yes, her feet in a different sense, taking those exams and moving on, immensely satisfying. I remember that case simply because that happened a long time ago in my very first few months as a politician. And today, just last month, she came back to see me saying, now my legs have worn off, I need new ones. And of course, we will help her. But the point is that there are these kinds of things. That poor family whose daughter died. She was a high-achieving girl. She was a hiker, a kayaker. She wasn't some sort of, fading, wilting flower who collapsed from pressure. But the pressure that was being put on her was so unreasonable. Somebody has to stand up and speak for them. And when I wrote and I complained to the minister and I demanded certain action, and the minister held a press conference and said he would, but then nothing happened, I went back to see the minister during the parliament session that just concluded. And I saw him and said, sir, you haven't done anything about this. This is the kind of problem that so many young people are facing. I mean, many of you are still in school, but in 6, 7 years, you're going to be in jobs like hers. And she was a high-achieving college student. And when she died at her desk from overwork, from lack of sleep and lack of rest, the number of messages I got from fathers and uncles and aunts and so on, saying, you don't know how widespread this problem is.
Yeah.
It's really, there is a culture of exploitation of the workplace in our country. We are a very competitive nation. We have lots and lots of people competing for few jobs, few opportunities, and those that are well rewarded. This is a company that pays good salaries. But what happens? You drive people crazy. This girl would be working 7-day weeks, get home at midnight, and then get a call from a boss saying, I wanted something on my desk by 6 a.m. When she said, look, I'm exhausted, sir, can I do it tomorrow? He would say, no, we all work at night, you should do so too. And I don't know if it's true that they all work at night, but if they do, then they should all be off the hook. They shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Because it clearly shows that the company is hiring too few people for the deadlines they're undertaking to meet. But this is a widespread problem in India.
So that pressure cooker environment is something that all the students also, I'm sure, identify with because of the kind of competition that you face to get into any institutions of excellence.
There you are. Yeah.
So many students here, and everyone wants to be a doctor, an engineer. Now, hopefully, all of them are looking at other careers as well. But I'm sure they have heard about your career graph. You've been a diplomat, you've been an author, and someone who's known for being one of the most articulate parliamentarians ever in the country, and a pleasure to listen to. What were your favorite subjects in school and college? Do you feel there's an overemphasis on STEM now? I mean, science, technology, engineering, maths, and not so much on the liberal arts, language, English, social sciences.
You're right. There is. In fact, I'll confess that I was one of these obnoxious kids who were very good at taking exams. So I kept coming first in things whether I liked them or not. And I remember when we had to stream in class 9 in those days, I had done the sort of aptitude test and so on, and I opted for humanities. And my teachers and principal were so upset, they summoned my parents to the school and said, this is our best science student. Why does he want to do humanities? And my parents, who like every good sort of middle-class Indian family wanted their son to become a doctor or an engineer, said, why do you want to do humanities? Why can't you be a doctor and engineer? I said, I can't stand the subject. They said, don't be silly, you've come first in science all your life. And I said, yes, but that's because I know how to study for exams. The day after the exam, I'll forget everything I've written in the blessed paper. But you asked me about history or literature, and I will be able to tell you things way beyond anything I've studied in the classroom, because that interests me. So that's what I want to do. And I must say, I was blessed in those days, Kenny, we're talking about 1969, this conversation, with a father who was visionary enough to say, all right, let him do what he wants to do. It's his life. He's got to be allowed to follow his bliss. And this is a philosophy I followed with my own
Yeah.
kids as well. And I'm sorry to say, I know parents who are far younger than me who have not treated their kids right, who forced them to do things they didn't want to do. And I think that's a big mistake. I think people should do what they enjoy. That's what I enjoyed, and the mere fact that I was good at something else didn't mean I had to do it. Now, I mean, the truth is, when you ask what I enjoyed, yes, I did enjoy some subjects more than others. I enjoyed history and I enjoyed literature because they were both stories. I loved stories, and it's curious. It's not surprising, I suppose, that my first books were fiction because I loved reading stories, telling stories, enjoying stories. I remember my little sisters and I, we used to have a game where I would make up the beginning of a story and pause in the middle, and the next sister would have to then continue the story, and she would pause, and the young would carry on, and would go around in circles.
Wonderful exercise, actually, to have in families.
It's a lot of fun. And remember, we benefited in those days from the fact there was no television in India. You couldn't sit there in front of the idiot box and just stare at it the whole time. You had to create your own entertainment, or the mobile phone, or the laptop, or the whatever. Or the Nintendo or the PlayStation either, which at least is a little more interactive, but still is looking at a screen. You had to tax your own imagination. And it's not surprising that one of my sisters is a very successful writer of short stories for children and books for children. And the other one is a life coach, like the general was doing, telling people how to lead better lives. She does that. And it's interesting that this comes to some degree from having had to rely on your own imagination to come up with things.
It's not just about the imagination. Actually, Dr. Tharoor has changed adversity into opportunity. I've heard him say, and many of you possibly who follow him would know, that as a child he was asthmatic and he couldn't go out and play, but he turned that into an opportunity to read more and more. Tell us that story so that our children understand why it is so important to read books and where it took you. I mean, all of us now talk about any complicated word, any meme, we say, this is Tharoorization of the language. But that is something, that's a label that came to him much later because he had many, many more accomplishments that probably overshadowed all that in the earlier years. But tell us about that journey as well.
Well, no, the asthma is real. It was, in fact, extremely bad asthma. I was, I was born in London, moved to India to a completely different climate at the age of 2.5, and immediately developed severe asthma. And the doctors, in those days, it wasn't terribly well understood. They didn't know what to do. There were no, inhalers or bronchodilators or nebulizers, all these things that today's asthmatics have. In those days, there was nothing except there were very strong tablets to force your lungs open to breathe and expel air and breathe in. And so your heart would go thud, thud, thud. You couldn't sleep from the medicine. And I would be spending days and nights of asthma attacks just sitting up in bed, unable to even lie down because I couldn't breathe if I lay down. Sitting up, but there's no TV to watch or anything like that. So what do? I read. And I read because that was literally, initially, the only option. But in the process, I developed a great deal of fondness for it. I was the eldest child in the family, so I didn't have elder brothers or sisters whose books I could borrow. I read very quickly the books that I could read of my age, and then I started reading books I was not old enough for, my parents' books on the shelves around me. And 2 or 3 things happened. First, yes, I developed a very good sense of the written word, of how to express things, what's good writing, what's bad writing, what's interesting writing, what's less interesting. I developed a very quick sense of vocabulary, not because I was sitting with a dictionary as people foolishly assume. No, I've hardly ever needed to do that. Because if you come across the same word in 3 different books, in 3 different contexts, 3 different stories or 3 different episodes, 3 different senses of sentences in which they're used, you will quickly figure out the meaning of the word and the nuance of it, and you will have no difficulty in using it yourself again. So books became my escape, books became my education, books also became my only entertainment. And that's how I grew up with books. Yeah, I was a kid, so I also, when I ran out of things to read, I would play book cricket, something that no kids do anymore, but in my generation was quite common. You take the fattest book you can find, you make up a cricket team, and then you keep opening the page, and the last digit of the page number becomes the run scored in that particular over. And so it goes. It was a lot of fun, but I did that too with books. But I didn't use books as doorstops or to hit my sisters with. I really used them for my own benefit. Where did it lead me? I think it led me, of course, into a sense of command of language, and through that, through a sense of command of subjects. Because if every subject you're studying is made up of words and sentences, and you feel comfortable in grasping the meaning of those words and sentences, the subjects will follow. It doesn't mean you're equally interested in all of them, but at least you can understand what you're reading, which is probably why I did so well in those blessed examinations. Now, looking back on it, I'm very struck. There was a recent thing saying that kids these days aren't reading. I remember meeting many young parents who tell me their children think of books as only related to schoolwork. Books in the classroom, books for homework, and that's it. No one sees books as a source of pleasure or of entertainment. And sometimes when I tell them, you've got to make your kids read. I remember one friend telling me her son was only interested in football. I said, get him books on football. Don't just let him watch football on the screen or just play football, which is all very good. But let him also read about football and realize how much he can learn and glean an appreciation of the sport he loves so much through words. Not enough kids are doing that. But then sometimes defensive people will say, oh, the kids are reading as much as you used to do. It's just that they're not reading books, they're reading it on screens. Now, they may be reading words on WhatsApp or on text messages or whatever, but are they reading the same way as you would read a book? And the answer is very clearly no. With books, you engage yourself much more. There is immersive reading. There is complex reading. There is interactive reading with the text.
And you can go back
with
to
these,
a book.
and you can keep going back. With WhatsApp messages or short texts or whatever, you're very quickly moving on. It's superficial reading. It doesn't challenge your mind in the same way. People talk about, oh, I don't read books anymore, but I get books through audiobooks. There are scientific studies that say that listening is not the same cognitive effect as reading. And so it becomes very, very important. Now there's a whole group of writers that signed a manifesto, I also signed it, I must admit, requesting governments and universities around the world and schools to obligatorily teach reading. Because in fact, it's an indispensable skill in the 21st century. We're living in an era of so much of fake news, of disinformation, of false information, of lies, of imagined facts. How do you have the complexity to understand when they're trying to fool you, when they're giving you wrong information? Unless you get used to reading and you can know how to look up the right things, you can figure out from context, this doesn't sound right, I better check whether it's true or not. You know, these are all important skills we need in the 21st century, and reading is at the basis of all of them.
You're someone who's used social media for political engagement, for political interaction, and all these youngsters obviously are on social media. How do they productively engage with social media? Obviously, a day only has 24 hours, and you have school books, you have school assignments, then you have other extracurricular activities, and social media, obviously. What would you recommend to parents and to youngsters here? They're all thinking adults, young adults.
Well, it's a tough one, but increasingly, I mean, my kids were unpoliced because, frankly, all of this was new. The internet was just coming on stream. They were millennials, as they're called, and they kind of, fortunately, I think partially by seeing their parents reading all the time, they got into books, and even today, it gratifies me when I see them as mature adults going on a flight. It's always with a book in their hand and not a screen. And that satisfies me. Now, how they're going to be young to be able to tell you that just yet, but they're trying to inculcate interest in books. What do we do with social media? I think, honestly, I'm always hesitant to be the heavy father sort of pushing down on people, but I think some control will have to be exercised. I respect those parents who say our children can watch TV, but only 1 hour a day, or sometimes 1 hour a week. It depends on how tough the parents are. Maybe only on a Sunday. There may be very specific rationing. The same could apply for social media, and that too from a certain age. You don't want an impressionable young child being in a medium where evil people could contact them and influence them, seduce them, harm them, tempt them into bad habits. I think some controls have to be exercised until the parent judges the child has the maturity and the judgment to be able to use social media responsibly. I just think it's inevitably something they're going to come up with eventually when they reach independence or even high school perhaps, or well into high school. But I think exposing children too early to some of these things could do them harm. And I just don't know how easy. I mean, one solution, if you're a very liberal parent, is yes, let your children, even from a relatively young age, have access to these things, but monitor them periodically, eavesdrop, pick up their phones, see what they're saying. They can have phones, but you must have the password, etc. There must be some control, or you could end up really having great harm done to your child.
Yeah. This could be a good beginning. I would strongly recommend A Wonderland of Words is your latest book, of course, which is something that I think you've written for youngsters and for people like me as well. Everyone, I mean, I'm saying, can pick up this book and go through the journey of what happens with words, because you're talking about the words, the magical world of words. Tell us more about this book itself.
Well, the book is a collection of 101 short essays about words, different aspects of words. Everything from the stories behind words and expressions to the why words can be fun, falling in love with words, using words to express complex ideas, some ideas that you can't really have words for in English but exist in other languages, words that come into a language like English from other languages, including Indian languages. Some of you know, I notoriously said once, and I'm proud of it, that the British, when they came here, they took the word loot from India into their dictionaries as well as their habits. And that sort of thing is also part of the experience of language.
There's a whole
and then
book
there are
on
other
that.
things, spoonerisms and malapropisms and acronyms and backronyms and aptograms and anagrams. What are all these things? Why are they fun? There's essays about all of that. And something about the kind of changing ways of language now as young people are coming up with different words and using them, and older people are suddenly supposed to be familiar with them or understand what they're talking about. And in each generation, there's vocabulary that the earlier generation doesn't really know. So you've got all of that happening at the same time. But words matter, I think, above all because of what they convey. And I think it's so important, whatever profession your kids go on to do, to be able to communicate. And for that, you need words. It doesn't have to be complex words or difficult words or unbearable words. It can be simple ones, but speak in ways that you're understood, but that you're clear. If you don't have some command of words, how will you get your message across? You see, even in the military, where you think everything is about fighting, you've got a general talking to you, inspiring his troops and inspiring your students. What's that all about? He's using words, but he's using words to communicate things that are important to you in your life. Same story. Whatever you do, you can be a salesman, you can be a doctor conveying bad news to a patient, you can be a priest trying to offer salve and balm to somebody who's suffering. Whatever it may be, the words you use, your ability to communicate, makes a huge difference.
The other book that we're going to talk about is The Battle of Belonging, Battle of Ideas in India. And the difference between the idea of India for the BJP and Congress may be one political question. In a world where technology is increasingly making it a global world, where borders are actually breaking in terms of opportunity, challenges, all of us, it's all universal. Is this idea of India, nationalism, something that is going to persist? It's a question of identity, of course.
Well, for me, the idea of India is the idea that's embedded in the Constitution and that emerged from the national movement. And that was basically the idea that, frankly, the national movement divided over, where people like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, their followers, they fought for an India for everybody, of every faith, every religion, every language, every color of skin, every ethnicity. All of that was the idea of India. It was an all-embracing idea. But there were some people who said, no, religion is the determinant of our nationhood, and we will create a country only for people of our religion. And that idea was the idea that became Pakistan, where they created a country only for people of a particular religion. But many others, including of that religion, said, no, we want a country for everyone, and they stayed in that, and that was the idea of India. And our constitution recognizes an India where everyone is equal, where everyone is free to have their own religion, protect their own language, their own identity, and at the same time have agency as individual citizens of India, irrespective of their identity at birth. To my mind, this is the big conflict of identities. Now, in India, that was the accepted idea, except for a small section of people who in those days were part of what can we call it, the Hindu Mahasabha, some of the Hindutva movements are there. But today, that movement has grown to a point where it is in power. And they believe very strongly that this is a country that should be a Hindu Rashtra, that it should be a country of just the Hindus. And this becomes a fundamental ideological conflict which is being played out. There are other differences between the parties, which are differences of policy, differences of economics, or which you can argue about. But on this fundamental idea, it's very difficult to find a compromise because the two ideas are so irreconcilable. Either you believe your country is only about people of one faith, or you believe your country is the same for people of every faith, and that ultimately is, there's no medium way between the two. It's one or the other. And that becomes the battle of the idea of India. Now, will that battle persist? Probably, because there are going to be lots of people in India who believe one thing, and there are lots of people in India who believe the other thing. And the electorate will decide in a democracy which one gets to exercise power. But I do believe at the end of the day that whoever rules India will have to rule for everyone. You know, just as we have learned, I mean, I went to the United Nations and served with people of every conceivable nationality. You very rapidly look beyond their nationality to what they're good at, what kind of people they are. The content of their character, to use Martin Luther King's phrase, becomes far more important than the color of the skin or the shape of their eyes and their nose or the language they speak. And so you no longer think of somebody as, oh, that Japanese or that Tunisian or this Indian. You're thinking of that computer expert, I better call him when my computer's not working, or that person who really understands the problems in, let's say, in Togo, and when there is a crisis in Togo, that's the person I need to call. And so you think of people in terms of their competence and their expertise. It doesn't bother me if the person fixing my computer is a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Sikh or a Jew. How does it matter? He's the guy who knows how to fix my computer. And so judging people like that and working with people on the basis of what they are rather than, if you like, who they are in terms of an irreducible identity from birth, that is the way most of us tend to live. And I think ultimately, whatever your formal ideology may be, whatever this idea of India you may argue over, at the end of the day, you have to live with everybody.
Okay, whoever is going to answer this question gets to ask Dr. Tharoor a question. Hippopoto monstro sesquipeda. Fear of long words. Okay, you get to ask a question a little later. Are you one of the students? No? Okay.
Hippopotamonstro sesquipedaliphobia.
Okay. Are you the opposite of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid of long words because long words can be broken up into smaller words. Just figure out, what is hippopoto? You think of a hippopotamus, right? Monstroso, think of something monstrous, big, out of the normal. Sesquipedaliphobia, now, pedal comes from feet. Pedestrian, right? Pedal, as when you're cycling. So you know that pedal would be a number of feet. Centipede is 100 feet. Centipede. Millipede is 1,000 feet, etc. So you realize a biped is somebody with 2 feet, like human beings, and so on. So you think of that pedal from there. And sesqui, well, if you know something like sesquicentennial, with many hundreds of years, then you get the idea. So it'll be huge, monstrous, multiple feet, and your fear of it.
So is that a good way for youngsters to start learning new words, showing off before others, whether it's the biggest word or the most
I
complex
know,
words.
I'm partly guilty for this whole long word thing. It should never have got to the extent it has. But it started off when my publishers wanted me to tweet about my then new book, The Paradoxical Prime Minister. And I didn't want people thinking it was just a political attack on the Prime Minister. It was more complex than that. So I tweeted saying my book is coming out, and it's more than just a 400-page exercise in floxi nosi nihilipilification. And then I gave the meaning. Floxi nosi nihilipilification is the act of estimating something or someone as worthless. So I'm saying, I'm not just saying that someone is worthless. There's more to it, so read the book. But because I tweeted that, it caught on. The book got the attention the publishers wanted, but the word got stuck in people's minds. And the result was that for months afterwards, even parents were wheeling out their 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds to say, tell Uncle Floxi Nosi Floxi. The poor child, have to recite Floxi Nosi nihilipilification dutifully for this poor uncle. So I can tell you, no, it's just, that was, in my case, a light-hearted, jokey effort to draw attention to a book. It wasn't really meant to be. But now, okay, everyone knows the word in India today. I'm glad every English speaker seems to know it now. Great, use it, have fun with it, but that's it. You know, it's not that every word you use in daily conversation needs to be something you can barely pick up from the ground. Your mic is gone.
Yeah. It's perhaps one way of being able to learn new words and show off. And thanks to you, many of us learned many, many new words, I guess, in this. In the book, you also speak about P.G. Wodehouse, who's a favorite of yours, and you've read all his works. Unfortunately, I don't know if youngsters these days read it with the kind of joy that people of my generation perhaps did. Tell us more about it and why something like that opens up your mind in terms of imagination, in terms of what humor can be just with creating that image with just those words.
Well, I actually discovered P.G. Wodehouse in school. I remember I was 11 years old, class 7, an otherwise repellent teacher whom I didn't particularly care for, read, in those days, I don't know if you still have this in school, forgive me, I've been gone for too long, but there was something called dictation, where the teacher would read aloud a passage and you had to write it out while listening to it in order to see whether you understood the spelling of all these words, and then you were graded on it. I was reasonably good at that because I read so much. But while this guy chose to read a passage from P.G. Wodehouse, and it was so funny that I was chortling along while writing the dictation essay, and as soon as the dictation test was over, I went up to the teacher and said, "Where is this from?" And he gave me the name of the book and the author, and I promptly went to the library and got the book. And from then onwards, I was hooked, because Wodehouse, somebody used language so delightfully, so humorously, so wittily, that you wanted to read him. The stories are simple, escapist entertainment. It's really complicated plots of people trying to steal policemen's helmets, or as Wodehouse would say, pinch a policeman's helmet, or complicated love stories where everything always works out. It's always a happy ending at the end. Or dotty characters doing silly things. But that was not what mattered. What mattered was the way the stories were told. And as a result, for me, a lot of my writing reflects my conviction that the way you tell a story is as important as the story itself. Because it was so much fun for me to get into the spirit of the language through seeing how Wodehouse used it. And he used it in all sorts of clever ways. He used language, he invented words. I pointed out in this book that I think the Oxford English Dictionary has 1,787 citations of P.G. Wodehouse for words that he was the one who first used or came up with or used in a particular way. Including because he had lots of characters who would drink too much. So there were about 27 synonyms for being drunk that he came up with. I wasn't much of a drinker, but I found that hilarious. And so on and so on. And then he came up with some very, now today, common expressions like, if you do, hey, shall we share something 50-50? Wodehouse invented that way. So come over to my house for a cup of coffee, or you say cuppa, C-U-P-P-A. A cuppa is a Wodehouse word, and so on and so forth. There are lots of words like that. But the whole idea of actually using language wittily, amusingly, was something that I valued completely from him, and that's why I cherish the pleasure. I only regret that I finished all his books and I rarely have time to reread books. So at some point, every time I'm not very well or I'm stuck in bed with a bad, illness or whatever, high fever, then I'll take a Woodhouse. That's my excuse. I need something light and undemanding. It's him.
Okay, we have to wrap this up now, and I don't think there is any word in the English dictionary that Dr. Tharoor cannot explain to us. I asked him the antonym of the hippopotomonstro sesquipedaliophobia. Yes. Can you tell me the antonym of that word?
The antonym is very easy because you just get rid of phobia and replace it with philia, which means love of. So you go hippopotomonstro sesquipedaliophilia, philia, and then you've got your love of long words.
That's fantastic. Okay, and I've been given a few words that you are going to tell us the meaning of.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Now I'm
Milver.
A milver is somebody who shares with you a common love of something. It was actually used for people who share a common love of words. If you love words as much as I do, you're my milver. Nothing more racy than that, I want to assure you. But nonetheless, I've written in the book that my father was probably my milver because he had a love of words and that infected me from my childhood. And so, yes, in many ways, it's a word that never fully caught on. It was invented by somebody who wanted a word to describe this.
Yeah. What are ghost words?
Ghost words are words that were invented but never actually existed. Lots of people tried to come up with neologisms, as I've written in the book. They come up with inventions of words. And what happened with ghost words is that they exist often in a dictionary or a reference book or something, but no one ever uses them, ever. In writing on it, there is no instance of they use it. There's ghost words.
So it means the ghost exists. The ghost exists, never gets used.
Good point.
And what's wagwan? Wagwan.
Wait a minute, now you've got me there. Spell it.
I must be pronouncing it wrong.
Oh! No, that's just slang for what's up, what's going on? What's going on?
And what is webkoof?
Webkoof is something I came up with. I foolishly it's like the Hindi word bewakoof. So I said somebody who believes everything they see on the web is a webakoof. But then one of the internet sites like that, when they dropped the A. See, from bewakoof there is an A, and I just turned the bev into web and kept webakoof. But they took the A off and they just say webkoof. I think it would be...
It's a wonderful word, and let's applaud to that because that's something that we all of us need to guard against.
Yes,
because
don't be
webkoof is the greatest danger now that we are facing in our world with the kind of fake news and everything else that comes. It's a pleasure speaking with you and sitting here with all these audiences and hearing you speak about words and the magic of words. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great pleasure. I'm sorry you didn't get to ask your question, but you can catch me as I leave. Take care, all of you. Thanks.
Or at I.I.M.U.N, Mr. Abhishek Dhawan and Chairman Dr. B. Mallika Arjun and Director Ms. Malti Mallika Arjun of Johnson Grammar Kuntloor to felicitate Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Big round of applause for our guests, everyone.
will come and follow. I have a brother-in-law who's an lieutenant as well. I know that. I normally speak everywhere. I don't speak but anyway, good luck and see you guys around. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
So may I please call upon stage? Woohoo! Come on, cheer for your own friends, guys.
Ta jum num ta rum ta dhalam ku tak de ku da de tang de de ta jum ta ka jum ta ta kita ta da ta jum de jum ta ta num ta rum ta kita ta de tang de ta ta ri ta dana ta run ta dim ta da jum ta num ta rum ta ka dim ta kita de ta dim ta tarigida ta jum dim da ta jum nam da ta jum tam ta kita dana ta tangira tarigida dim ta tarigida ta jum dim da kita jum da kita ta jum da jum da kita ta jum kita tarigida ta jum ta ni ta ta dana ta tarigida ta dana ta jum ta dana ta tarigida ta jum dim da ta jum nam da kita jum ta dim tum nam ta tarigida ta
Tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na udana dhim tadana dhire na udana dhim tadana dhire na dhim tanoda dhire na dhim tanoda tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na udana dhim tadana dhire na udana dhim tadana dhire na dhim tanoda dhire na dhim tanoda dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na tom tanana dhire na udana dhim tadana dhire na udana dhim tadana dhire na dhim tanoda dhire na dhim tanoda dhire na dhim tanoda dhire na
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Such a beautiful performance that I could not take my eyes off the stage. which to process the dance performance, I took few moments. That's it. Now. We have a very important segment too. And this segment is called as partner felicitation. Because do you see the entire event? The event turns into memory only if we have pictures. And for that picture, we have few partners with us. And for that, I like to call on stage Secretariat member Mr. I.I.M.U.N to felicitate our photography partner, Candid Studios. I.I.M.U.N, do we have you on stage? The photography partner, may I please call you on stage for felicitation? Every pen needs a pen holder, every child a family, every team needs a coach, and every I.I.M.U.N conference needs a host. Choosing the host amongst the top institution is not an easy task. Not just because of the value system, belief and ethos matching, but because the host school needs to match the energy and passion of a youth-run organization. We are proud to say that an institute that mirrors us not just in philosophy of uniting the world the Indian way by sensitizing tomorrow's leader today, but also in the madness, energy and vibe is a school which is fast becoming one of our favorite host school across the country. Please put your hands together for Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor. I request upon stage CEO of Johnson Grammar School, Mr. Yashveer Malan, who holds a degree in mechanical engineer from University of Florida and is responsible for smooth functioning of JGS School, Kuntloor, to grace us with his words of wisdom. Thank you.
So unfortunately, our guests had post engagements and they had to leave. But to our respected guest, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, member of Lok Sabha, Lieutenant General Neeraj Varshney, Commandant, Military College of Electronics and Mechanical Engineering, Secunderabad, Colonel Commandant Corps of I.I.M.U.N, distinguished principals, dedicated staff members, esteemed parents, media representatives, and my dear students, Namaste. A very happy and promising new year 2025 to each one of you. It is an immense privilege and honor to welcome you to all to Hyderabad I.I.M.U.N conference, hosted here at Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor. Today, we embark on an inspiring journey, one defined by dialogue, innovation, and collaboration among thought leaders, educators, and the next generation of change makers. At Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor, with a legacy spanning over 40 years, we have remained deeply committed to providing holistic education, fostering intellectual curiosity, and empowering students to become leaders of tomorrow. Our visionary chairman, Dr. Mallikarjun Rao, sir, graciously embraced the opportunity, recognizing the profound importance of offering a platform for youth leadership, global discourse, and transformative dialogue. Our association with I.I.M.U.N began last year when our CEO, Mrs. Mrignani Malhan, along with a group of talented students, proudly represented us at the I.I.M.U.N London conference. Their experience was further enriched by participating in the 75th Republic Day celebrations at the Indian High Commission in London, where they had the esteemed opportunity to interact with His Excellency, Mr. Vikram K. Doraiswamy, and other distinguished global leaders. We are deeply inspired by I.I.M.U.N's noble mission to foster youth empowerment, diplomacy, and global citizenship, while simultaneously instilling an enduring appreciation for India's rich cultural and historical legacy. Their vision of one world to build, rooted in the belief that India is not just a nation, but an idea, can unite the world, which perfectly aligns with our school's philosophy of nurturing compassionate and forward-thinking global citizens. Today, we stand privileged to host this extraordinary gathering where over 1,000 bright young minds, esteemed principals, and distinguished luminaries have come together to engage in meaningful discussions on pressing global challenges. On behalf of our beloved chairman, Dr. Mallikarjun Rao, sir, Director Mrs. Malti Rao, CEO Mrs. Mrignani Malhan, Rector, Principal, staff, and students of Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor, it is with profound respect and immense honor that I, Yashveer Malan, extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, sir. A paragon of erudition, statesmanship, and eloquence, Dr. Tharoor has long been a guiding light in the realms of diplomacy, literature, and public service. His remarkable ability to weave words into powerful narratives has inspired countless individuals across the globe. Today, we were not only privileged to hear from him, but are also delighted to showcase two of his illustrious works right here on our campus, The Battle of Belonging, a thought-provoking exploration of nationalism, patriotism, and the essence of being Indian, and the second book, which is newly released, A Wonderland of Words, which is a masterful collection of 101 essays celebrating the beauty and richness of the English language. These books stand as testaments to Dr. Tharoor's profound intellect and his unparalleled contribution to literature and society, offering invaluable insights to readers of all ages. I would also like to extend our deepest gratitude to our keynote speaker and honored guest, Lieutenant General Neeraj Varshney, sir, a stalwart military leader and a symbol of unwavering dedication to our nation. Lieutenant General Varshney has played a pivotal role in advancing India's defense capabilities and fostering innovation in military technology. His unparalleled leadership and commitment to service continues to inspire generations. Sir, your presence here today serves as a beacon of courage, integrity, and dedication for all of us. A special word of appreciation goes to the principals and staff members from various prestigious institutions who have joined us today. Your presence and participation add immense value to this conference, fostering a spirit of collaboration and shared purpose. To the students participating, I really urge you to embrace this opportunity with enthusiasm and open mind. Over the next 2 days, you will witness engaging discussions, thought-provoking debates, and transformative exchange of ideas. Lastly, but most importantly, my sincere gratitude to the incredible I.I.M.U.N team. Your relentless dedication, vision, and passion for empowering youth are truly commendable. The Hyderabad conference, hosted here at Johnson Grammar School, Kuntloor, aims to explore and unravel the profound question: why India is the land that can unite nations, and why it is an idea, not just a nation. As we embark on this transformative journey, let us remind ourselves of the words of Rishabh Shah, the founder of I.I.M.U.N. Let us all strive to be Indian at heart and international in our mindset. Thank you all once again for gracing this occasion with your presence. God bless you all. Jai Hind.
For your words, sir. To show our love and gratitude for supporting the youth, may I call upon stage Chief Mentor at I.I.M.U.N, Mr. Abhishek Dhawan, to felicitate our host school. And for the same, may I call upon stage Mr. Yashveer Malan and Mrs. Mrignani, CEO of Johnson School, who is the third generation from her family serving in the field of education. A definite example of women empowerment and how women are the future.
Grammar School, and on behalf of our chairman, Dr. Mallikarjun Rao sir, and our director, Mrs. Malti Rao, our CEOs have presented a token of appreciation for the I.I.M.U.N team, and Mr. Abhishek, who is the mentor for the I.I.M.U.N and striving for years, for more than a decade, and he is known for his multitasking. He is known for, a lot of values and systems. Yeah, thank you so much, Abhishek, for everything there. So, on behalf of I.I.M.U.N for Mr. Abhishek, put your hands together, please. I.I.M.U.N team for making this event a very grand success there. God bless you all. So, each and every one of you who have strived very hard behind this event there. God bless you. Thank you.
Let's have discuss few important announcements. Firstly, I.I.M.U.N has been part of various social initiatives. And one such social initiative is to donate books to NGOs. So dear delegates, if you all have any book which you all are done reading or have been reading since like 4 years and now have outgrown the book, you all can bring that book from home and donate it or give it to one of the I.I.M.U.N members, and we will be donating it to one of the NGOs in Hyderabad. So please be part of the initiative. And yes, so that's the first announcement. Tomorrow we begin the committee sessions start at 9 a.m. So please be here by 8:30. is the reporting time. See you all tomorrow. All the best for the conference. May we all win best delegation if that's possible. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Good night. Take care, everyone.